I think what's more scary than him is his followers.
Nah, it's just Trump. He's a dumb and he does dumb.
But people always ask me, they say, Ice, man, would you ever get into politics? And my answer is, I got out of crime. First thing a gangster, my man sitting here, Costas, we play gangsters our whole life. The first thing a gangster asks for is loyalty.
Racism is real, yeah. But there's also a class situation that's going on out here. We're unstoppable, you know, they can't once we realize we're all on the same side.
There's a reason Ice-T rarely says the name. In his world, handing clout to a headline addict is the fastest way to feed the machine. So instead of repeating names, he talks patterns, loyalty tests, chest puffing, the way power punishes anyone who won't kneel. That tells you more than a label ever could. For Ice-T, this didn't start yesterday.
Only really one person out there that really bothers me. I didn't really believe Duke could be president. I didn't really believe it could happen.
Who the what president says about a rapper? What's the matter with him?
I think that his gangster is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's got a set of balls on him.
Long before timelines turned into battlegrounds, he was already writing protest into the music. From the uproar over Cop Killer to a metal record called Bloodlust, he kept pointing at the same target. Power that treats regular people like collateral. When he raps, no lives matter. He isn't dismissing anybody. He's saying the people at the top don't care about anybody who isn't in their club.
I mean, if you notice on the past recent records, I have never even mentioned the president's name because
I've lived through Bush, I've lived through Clinton, I've lived through Obama, I've lived through a few presidents, you know, even Reagan.
Sure.
just loyalty, the rules, loyalty. That's gangster.
Yeah.
I want you to be loyal. If I decide I'm gonna kill this motherfucker, nobody blink.
If you're poor, they'll call you trash and leave you to fend for yourself. That's the villain. That's the fight. But here's where it gets sharper. Ice-T didn't just say a politician was rude or reckless. He compared the whole style to a gang boss. In his words, a boss demands one thing first, loyalty. Not the Constitution, not the rules.
Going against me, had him fired, had him removed, had him shot, had him killed, have him dragged and quartered.
Let's all get on the same side of the team, you know. Once we all realize we're mad at the same, we're unstoppable.
36 of his boys are in prison. 36 of the people that were involved with him are in prison.
Loyalty to him. That's why he called it out early, as far back as 2016, when he said the vibe reminded him of a gang leader. That's not a normal campaign energy. That's a street code applied to national power. And then came the read that stuck. During the Bloodlust run, Ice-T called Trump the ultimate con artist and said the hustle would wear thin, even with his own base.
That's it. You dumb. Go run the country, idiot.
And that's more people in jail than I got in jail. And I was a career criminal. You know, like, I think the people that follow him blindly have a way of brushing off all that he does.
That wasn't performative rage. It was a hustler diagnosing another hustler. If you've lived by schemes and shortcuts, you recognize the pattern. Ice-T's prediction? The shine fades, the tab comes due, and people who once cheered start asking why the bills keep landing on their doorstep. He didn't keep it theoretical either.
I've never felt this uneasiness. Maybe it's because of the internet and we're all communicating and we can actually see how everyone feels with the primaries, the elections, all the madness that has happened in the United States. It was impossible to make a happy record.
Every movie I've ever seen of the future is post-apocalyptic. So I guess the apocalypse is imminent.
Body Count dropped Civil War, and then tore it up live with Dave Mustaine. A performance that felt less like nostalgia and more like a warning shot.
I think that's why he likes the other dictators. He likes Putin. I'm just talking about the whole situation. We already know I don't give a about that clown motherfucker.
So, you know, whether you're the poor white kid they call trash, or you're Spanish, or you're Asian, that has always referenced the poor.
It wasn't saying the country was in a civil war. It was saying, keep feeding chaos, keep turning neighbor against neighbor, and don't be shocked when the spark finds dry grass. That sense of dread, that we're one push away from something we can't take back, is why that song still hits like a siren. Of course, the internet can turn even a critic into a Rorschach test.
Kind of like before the internet, you only knew how the people in your neighborhood felt.
Sure.
Now you know how the world feels.
And the things he does, if any normal person did one of those things, they'd be out of here.
You saw what happened in Chicago. He's fine. I think he's bringing out the worst America has to offer.
In 2019, Ice-T reposted a flashy Q graphic with a generic quote and immediately caught heat for amplifying a conspiracy aesthetic. He didn't convert, he clarified, but the episode proved his larger point. We're arguing inside an outrage factory. One slip, one symbol, and the algorithm rewrites your intent. That's not debate, that's drift. But that wasn't the whole story, because as the years rolled on, he didn't soften.
But in the hood, they quicker. Sure. Because there's no repercussions.
Yeah, I think he could basically get us all killed. Yeah, anybody but Trump.
That's some gangster. That's not normal politicians.
In 2024, with stakes high again, he stripped the politeness and said it flat. He despises Trump. Not because it's trendy, but because he sees wallets being played, fear being sold, and working people being told to be grateful for crumbs. Whether you agree with him or not, the message is consistent.
But I met dude on 2 different occasions, and he never really made eye contact with me, you know.
Anybody but Trump. And I think Trump will start a civil war.
If all we do is argue about teams, the same small circle keeps the bag. And that loops us back to Ice-T's oldest theme, the one he's hammered since the early 90s and doubled down on in No Lives Matter.
You know, like I say, if a cop is in a gated community, he ain't got his hand on his gun because he knows these people, there's repercussions.
The Korean cat, gangsters. So, you know.
The fastest way to beat a hustle is to stop fighting each other. Poor black, poor white, immigrant, native born. The minute people realize they want the same basics, safety, fair pay, dignity, the con doesn't work. That's why he keeps telling the story in class terms. Because if you name the game right, the pieces move differently. So he dodges the name, but he never dodges the point.
I don't know if Trump had full reign, who knows what would be going on. So he's on the mother said he could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue. What the
Loyalty shouldn't outrank the law. Image shouldn't outrank impact. If a leader acts like a boss of a crew, the country becomes the set for someone else's show. That's the read. That's the warning. And here's the twist Ice-T would probably sign off on. This isn't about one headline or one election cycle. It's about who gets to define normal.
I think that makes him more famous and makes him more important than I really feel he is. So I won't say his name. I've never seen a movie of the future where everything looked great. I've never seen a movie where everybody got along.
Do we normalize loyalty tests? Do we normalize leaders who call critics enemies while the price of basics climbs? Or do we break the loop by refusing to play the con? Not with slogans, but with the one thing a hustle can't survive: collective clarity.
I would vote for anybody to get the crazy mother out of office, though, honestly.
Bloodlust was made during these last 3 years of wildness that has happened on Earth.
But the part that shocks everyone next won't be a tweet. It'll be ordinary people deciding the spectacle is boring and their lives are not.
He would be a great, he's a gangster.
Yeah.
That adds up to statistics. That's all I'm saying.
Ice-T frames Trump like a gang boss who demands loyalty over rules, called him the ultimate con artist back in 2017, warned about the country tearing itself up, kept the focus on class over race, and in 2024 said he straight up despises him. Whether you co-sign or not, the argument is tight. Stop letting the rich make you fight over scraps.
Because Putin's a gangster.
Oh, gangster.
It's a super gangster, you know.
Pulling out that dirty underbelly that we don't want to talk about, but we know it's there, and he's catching them and he's making them speak.
Drop a comment. Do you think the gang boss frame explains the last decade? Or is it too simple? And if class really is the core, what would unity look like offline?